I'm glad you've joined us for this weekly devotional. I want us to think just a little bit. Uh, a few weeks ago, I learned that I had a cataract in one eye and had begun to see things a little bit fuzzy and hadn't thought about it. And yet, so often as we look, sometimes as we grow older, or even in situations, I know I was mowing yesterday and had uh, a rock, a limb, something come out, and somehow or another hit me up beside the eye, and so not necessarily cloudy, but it makes it watered, and you begin to look at things, and they seem blurry. They seem uh, as though they're difficult to uh, get into focus, to put things where they belong. And as I thought about that, and as I've thought about a lesson I've been working on, I began to think about this idea of seeing things through tainted eyes. Begin to see things through, let's say, the film of the world. It covers over how I should see things as a child of God. I began looking at them, and I began uh, seeing them from a human point of view instead of seeing them from a spiritual point of view, or let's say I see them from a fleshly point of view. In Matthew, the fifth chapter, he talks some about this. We do the things we want. We look as though, or we do things through our eyes, through the way we think they should be done. But he talks about how we should be as children of God, how we should see things. Matthew, the fifth chapter, verse 38, he says, "You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." Isn't that the way we look? Well, if someone does something bad to me, do something bad back. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if anyone would sue you, and if anyone would sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. And if anyone would force you to go a mile with him, go two. Give to one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. I want us to think about that. There's one of these that stands out to me, especially when it's gotten to a point I'm not too much on um, a short hike, even. He said, if anyone forces you to go a mile with him, go 2 miles. It was at that time that the Roman soldiers would choose a man from out who was among the streets and say, "Come carry my goods." And they could command them to go the mile and be the beast of burden, so to speak. He said, if one forces you to go a mile, go two with him. You see, we want to do things from our point of view. We want to look and refuse, or we want to retaliate. We want to get even. We want to be the judge and the jury, so to speak. Things happen to us at times. Things happen in our world. Evil is abounds. It's difficult to look at it and to realize what God says, that we are to not look and see an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. This idea of turning the cheek. It's difficult for us as humans, as fleshly, to do these things, and yet God expects more from us. Verse 43 of that same chapter, as we continue, he says, "You've heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven," so that we may be sons of God, so that we might carry the characteristics and the traits that God carries. Where he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good. He sends rain on the just and on the unjust. Then he goes into this, for if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You therefore must be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. This idea of being willing to forgive, no matter what it is that's happened, or to overlook the slights that have been made toward you, to overlook the difficulties that have been laid upon you, to overlook the burdens that somebody has placed upon you, to overlook the hatred, to overlook the hurts, to see them as God sees them and be willing to forgive, to be willing to love, to be willing to care for, to be willing to pray for that one who has done some injustice. It's difficult. There are many things happen in this world that we see as unjust, that we see as horrible, that we see as great, great evil. We're persecuted, we're hurt, we're showed around. And that God says, or Christ said, pray for your enemy. Pray for that one who hurts you. Pray for that one who crosses you. Pray for that one who does horrible things. Pray for him. Show the love that God has shown you. Would ask that you would genuinely think on this matter. We see so many evils around us, and yet our duty or our willingness to live for God, we live for Him because we love Him. Our want is to bring others to Him. Yes, the evil abounds, but the only way that we can bring others to Him is to live through that evil, loving people, praying for our enemies, doing things that go beyond what we want to do, seeking to do these things because we love God. Spend some time thinking about this idea, about living for God, doing the things He asks us to do. You stop looking through the tainted eyes, look through the eyes of Christ. I thank you so much for being here with us today, and may God bless you.